Welcome to another edition of the Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. All right, so today's episode 48, and we're going to talk about 5 easy money saving tips. And I think a lot of people need some help. Every once in a while, I look at these things that I do and think, and so they're so simple. Everybody must surely know these things, and lo and behold, I meet people and they're like children. And also our children. I think our public education system doesn't teach our children how to save money, how to make money, how money's printed, how to have a relationship with money, and how significantly important it is. And to not trade your time for dollars, or maybe you need to trade your time for dollars. But to me, that's personal enslavement. And it takes a lot out of people's lives, and I think that's why a lot of people are so unhappy. But today we're going to make you happier, and I'm going to give you guys just some very ABC simple tips. And I think those of you who already are saving money, you might learn something too, because I've talked to people about their money saving strategies, and every once in a while we drop a little cookie to each other and go, oh, never really thought about it that way. So let's get into it. The first one is the 3-day purchase wait period. Now, I know a lot of you guys get really excited, and actually I just went to go dine out the other day for sushi, my favorite food, and the waitress was asking me, what'd you get for Black Friday? And I says, nothing. I actually never even shopped once in my life for Black Friday. I think it's completely crazy. Now, I've gone out and bought stuff for sale. I bought really good stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later here. Maybe we'll talk about my barbecue and how I got a 50% off an industrial commercial grade barbecue, which you think, oh, that's just for the weekends. No, I've been cooking on that thing every single day, every single meal for the past, I'd say 3 years. So it was a heavy, really good investment that I got for a fraction of the cost. But the 3-day purchase wait period is when you get excited and you want to buy things. This, I believe it was this last Friday for after Thanksgiving. I actually went into Costco to buy some extra things. I had family members over, and we ran out of exotic foods, shall I say, and we went to go splurge again, because that's where we spend our money, on yummy foods and things when it's our time off. So we went to Costco to get, and I noticed people coming out with big screen after big screen TVs and things like that. And that's the kind of mentality, that's the kind of actions that will actually hurt you guys. I think they're actually doing layaway. When I was a child, you'd go to Kmart and they would put something aside for you and you'd make payments on it, like 3 installment payments. And then once you were done paying it off, you actually got the product. It was on layaway. I believe that's the way it worked. It sounds like that's what they're doing again. There's people extending credit and things like that. But what you're not understanding for yourself is that it wasn't presented to you until now, is that a lot of those purchases that you impulse buy, are they're mind imprinted. They're very sexy, as people like to say, very attractive. They put it in your face all the time, just like all the candy right there at the bottom by the cash register when you go to check out at the grocery store. It's all eye level for your kids, and I see kids all, why? You don't think that's a strategy? That's a strategy, but we're going to come up with our own strategy to wait 3 days before we make a purchase. So if you're thinking you need that big screen TV or that toaster oven or that fancy air fryer, do yourself a favor and put it down on a note when you walk into the store, especially if this is an impulse buy. I think that's where they are very clever at getting people to do this. You see it and you're like, oh my God, that's 50% off. Normally this is a $1,000 TV and I get it for $500. Well, do you have the $500? To spend on that? Or are you going to go put it on credit and pay a bunch of interest on it, which probably you might end up paying double of what that, you're going to end up paying the $1,000 anyways. So stop with the impulse buying, mark it down, take a picture with your phone or something, and then go home and wait on it for 3 days. This goes with any purchase that you're doing that's not essential to your living, to your survival. A TV, a blender, I guess a blender can be if you've got health issues, but all of these different things that you're looking at, buying Christmas decorations, a brand new Christmas tree and things like that, you're going to find that it actually slowly starts to slip away and you actually forget about it. And, this is I'll tell you guys a story when I started studying minimalism years ago. I forget the two gentlemen's names, but what they did is they went and packed up their friend's house. He says, I want to practice minimalism. I want to live like you guys where I don't have to work so hard. So they packed up every single thing in the guy's house, except for the bare essentials, spoon, fork, knife, pot, one pot to cook in, toothbrush, things like that, blankets. But they just packed everything away in one room. They marked everything down in boxes, and they says, go and grab things as you need it and only as you need it. If you feel like you can't do without this, then, a hair dryer or something, then go and grab it and use it, but only. And what they found through this experiment, and this was on a TED Talks, was that as they kept going for a month, a few weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, all of those things that they thought they needed didn't really need. And that was the beginning of, I guess, it makes the most sense to me. That's the beginning of minimalism, of finding out that you don't really need all of these things in your life. So that's why I say the 3-day method. Wait a while and see if you still want it after 3 days and you can make sense of it, then go ahead and go buy the thing, by all means. But before you go and buy it, we're going to go to our next note here, which is the ROI, return on investment strategy. So that's what it means for those of us who don't know. ROI, when somebody says that stuff, it means return on investment. What's the ROI on it? So before you go and purchase that thing, I'd advise you in those 3 days to sit down with your partner, your kids, get your kids involved. That's what I like to do. Is this essential to our survival? Is this thing beyond that now? It's going to take our money to buy this thing. How is this thing going to improve our lives? Now, I can actually justify a TV in some situations to where you're educating yourself about how to save money, maybe watching a video podcast like this one here that will be broadcasted on YouTube with your family. And it gets your family, because it's not just some voice coming out of your phone. There's actually a talking head on the other end. It maybe sparks some interest to your family or somebody else, and you guys end up watching something that's educational. Maybe you guys start watching some YouTube videos on how to repurpose things or how to save money. Maybe how the whole money system works on this big screen TV, and it gets everybody involved. That's actually a really good ROI. So, but that's, to me, that's not what most people would do. I think they'd end up watching puppy dogs fart and, TikTok videos and stuff like that. The ROI, when I think about it for myself, like my cast iron frying pans that I've purchased, some of them were given to me. They were my grandparents. And these things date back, guys, to like 1902. I think one of them is. It's old. It's over 100 years old and still working. When I look at my blenders that I bought for my health, not only let's use the blender factor here. So my blender makes ice cream for me. It makes smoothies, which I eat for lunch every single day. It makes juices. It'll ground flour. It has multiple uses. It stacks functions. I actually initially bought this blender, this brand. It's the kind that Starbucks uses, and we actually made money off the thing. So talk about an ROI. Initially, I paid about $1,000 for this thing, for a blender. Yeah, I know that's crazy. But I made thousands of dollars. I started a vending business where we made iced cappuccinos, and blended lemonades and things like that, smoothies. And we sold them at fairgrounds and car shows and stuff like that. So the ROI on that paid off itself way in advance, way in the past, and still continues to do so. So when I look at a purchase, $1,000 for a blender, you are utilizing that thing. It's not only saving you money because you're cooking at home, it's also saving you time. I'll talk about that. And as far as time goes, I am able to produce lunches for my work for the entire work week within, I would say, 15 minutes max. Might be 10 minutes. I just throw in some bananas and some moringa powder and protein powder, peanut powder, whatever frozen fruits, some coconut milk, blend it all up, put it in smoothie jars, in quart jars, place them in my refrigerator, my DC refrigerator that's in the back of my truck, which is another good investment that I made. And I've got lunch for the entire week. Now think about how much time I just saved, let alone the money. Not going out and buying a burrito or a burger or, stuff that's actually bad for me. And we look at our health, it's a lot healthier for me. So the return on investment is huge. So before you buy anything, really sit down and take a look at it and say, what is the return on investment? What's the ROI of this investment? And we have to think about this as assets and liability. An asset is something that pays you back in some form or another. A lot of people are going to teach you, when you go out and start researching assets and liabilities, it's mostly revolves around money. It's very, very seldom few that I see people where it's like investing in yourself, right? Assets and liabilities. We're still going to stay on this smoothie, this blender subject here. So when I see people, they say assets, in the investment realm of stuff of like houses and things like that. You buy a house, it appreciates in value. Well, the stick structure, we're not going to go into details there. Whereas you buy a big screen TV, it depreciates in value. The resale value has nothing. That home can actually make you money. You can put a renter in there. When you get the land, you could actually grow a lot of your own food, or you can start producing something to sell. If you buy the right type of home, a lot of people buy homes. I think a home is a liability because it sucks the life out of people. But as far as an investment, if you bought two homes, you bought one home and you took a loan out, bought a second one, you lived in the first one and you rented out the second one. After the second one reaches a certain value, it's an asset. You borrow money on it, you buy another one, you rent that one out. Now you're getting this residual income, something that pays you back. Whereas a liability just keeps sucking the life out of you. But it's very seldom that I see people talk about investing in, say, things like your health, an asset. So is a blender, $1,000 blender, an asset? You're damn right it is. You're darn right. What is it doing? You're investing in your health. And then some people would say, well, that's just ridiculous. $1,000, I don't think that's a little much. I want you guys to ask yourself a question. How much do you spend on medical? I spend, quite a bit of money on medical. Why not? If I was able to dish out, a couple $1,000 a year for somebody, a doctor, to tell me what's wrong with me, and in case I get sick, why would I not invest in something that would make me healthy? Why would I not buy that? So that's an asset. That's a return on investment, which will actually, in the long run, save you money because you won't have to spend so much on medical. Right? Because you're healthy. I know people, right? I've been trying to get this woman on the podcast and she just doesn't really want to do it, but she's never had any ailments really. She's cured everything with holistic medicines and she's stayed healthy, always exercised, positive attitude. She has the blender, the same one I do, and juicers and things like that, and she's in perfect health. In fact, an asset is later on in life, you're able to go run around still. Even in your 70s, 80s, you can still squat down on the ground without putting your hands on the ground and stand right back up. That's amazing. So is that a return on investment? Is that an asset? I think, yeah. The next one is intermittent fasting and the cost of organic foods. Now, I get this one a lot. You're so lucky that you get to eat, you feed your kids all organic foods and stuff. First of all, I don't feed them 100% organic foods. I think that there's something called better than organic. We can't just trust everything, as we should know in this life and continuing here on forward. But I do buy, it makes me feel good to purchase foods that don't have so much pesticides, herbicides, and all the poisons and toxicities in them to my kids. They don't know any better. Even though I explain it to them, they don't know. So one of the things I do is I do intermittent fasting for myself. I do not do that with my children. I did experiment with one of them, and it was for like 2 days, and it was actually very successful. But the way I look at this is that I'm doing all that prep. Remember that blender where I'm saving a bunch of money and time making my lunches, but I don't really eat breakfast. And it's not necessary. I make enough money to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between if I wanted to. But remember that ROI thing? Intermittent fasting actually helps me lose weight. If you need scientific proof, take a look at it. You can actually lose weight by intermittent fasting without even really doing much cardio. Just by not eating for that 16 to 18 hour period, your body goes into ketosis, which is called. And I never really believed in it until I've done it. And I've been doing this for about 4 years now, I think, maybe 5. But yeah, intermittent fasting, what's the significance? How is that saving you money? Is you're not really eating a meal in the morning. When I tried to save money and try to come up with a budget, I tried to figure out meal plans. Back then, before all this inflation, now here in 2021, I tried to make meals for $2 a piece per person. So that's $6 for breakfast, $6 for lunch, $6 for dinner. When I add all those up and look, I forget what it was. I think it was about $600 a month on my grocery bill. So my bill. So I'm like, well, where's all my money going? And then to budget, I need to figure out, well, what are meals that I can stay in the parameter that are $6 to feed 3 people? So without me eating lunch, I can actually transfer that $2, let's say back then, into something like, say, more organic. Let's just say that my meal, and I know some of you might think this is crazy, but yeah, spending over $1 a day, right? Just $1. Let's go ahead and make it 2. Let's make this extreme. That's $2 a day. What's 30 times 2? That's $90 extra a month. Okay, that for most people now, like me, that's nothing. It's like a drop in the bucket. But for a lot of people, that's something. And even for the people who don't think that's a drop in the bucket, we just start adding all these things up here. It's not. I don't want to make this a long rant on saving money, as far as pocketing everything away. But it kind of needs to be understood that even rich people are not watching their budgets as well. Like, so there's $90 here, but there's also $50 there, $100 there, $5 here, and then you start adding it all up, and it ends up being $1,000 a month, or a couple $100 a month of stuff that you just disregard and says, well, that's not really that important. But see how fast that all adds up? But you can eat organic foods, I think, going on a budget. Do some intermittent fasting for yourself. You're going to lose weight. It's healthy. It's supposed to make you live longer, all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know if I buy into all that, but I actually been doing it for so long that I'm pretty much addicted to it. I don't stay regimented to it all the time. Like, it's very rare that I don't, that I'll eat breakfast on a Saturday or something like that. But yeah, that sets off the cost of food, so you can buy, say, some organic meats. Right? If I wasn't eating food in mornings and I had $90 extra to spend a month, I can take that and go from regular burger to, say, grass-fed organic burger. I can also buy fruits. I can spend whatever that $90 that I'm saving for myself from not eating that way, eating breakfast, to spend more on my kids or myself as well. I get that much better flavor in food. All right, so the next one I have is the money jar method. And this is when you impulse buy, and I am guilty of this too. You pass by, over here in California. I know we have listeners from all over. We have In-N-Out Hamburger. We have Joey's Pit, the Pit Stop, some steakhouse where they have smoking meat coming out. You could smell it. You're hungry. You're drinking that ice cold shake, that you've been drinking the same one for, all week. And you're like, oh, I can go down. I can eat some steak. I can eat a burger and French fries right now. And sometimes it happens where I'm like, okay, let's just go do it. But I have the money to do so. But really, even though when you have the money and you're being healthy, eating healthy, getting exercise, you eat one of those, yeah, it tastes great, but then it makes you feel like crap afterwards. So I'm kind of like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I want you guys to do yourself a favor, because I know there's a lot of impulse people out there that are just like, they cannot control themselves. And I understand completely. One of the ways that you can is the money jar. Like when you say a bad word, people I've saw on shows or something, or you do something dumb, you have to put $1 in the or a coin in the coin jar. Jerk tax or whatever they call it. Well, jerk tax yourself. Keep a money jar. Every time you feel like you just cannot control yourself, take the money out from your own hand and put it in the jar. Put it in the piggy bank. And keep practicing this. And I know you're going to be like, well, I want to go get that burger. Don't do it. Exercise some self-control and some discipline for yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. But the way that this is going to happen is, I challenge you guys to experiment for yourselves. Tuck that money away and just keep driving. Just keep going on your way. If you have a problem with, just don't keep junk food in your house. They have to get in your car and go get it. Save yourself some healthy stuff. Eat an apple, right? Stuff an apple in that hole. There's other stuff that can go in there besides cheeseburgers and pizza. But meanwhile, do it for a week, do it for a month, and then what I want you guys to do, which may sound profane, is or not profane but crazy, is take all that money that was in that jar and go treat yourself to a fancy steak dinner, right? Or just keep saving. But the thing is if you're just feeling depressed because you're not getting out, you think that's, first of all, if that's the way you think, you have some problems, I think, it's my opinion. If cheeseburgers and pizzas and eating out, all that kind of stuff is what makes you happy, you're missing out in life, because there's a lot of other better things. I don't want to beat people up too much, but that's a problem to me. But wouldn't you rather Save all that money for a month and then go to the best, finest restaurants you could find where you get a steak or whatever it is you're eating that you can cut with a fork, right? And go get the best of the best and treat yourself and see how that makes you feel. First of all, you exercise discipline, and that's going to better your life. And when you go out, when you go out, you're going to eat that meal that tastes way better than that McDonald's cheeseburger, I guarantee you. But now you're going to start seeing that money in the jar. You might even have a little bit extra. Now you can start saving for emergency funds or maybe something that you really want, like that 50-inch, that big old giant screen TV. Start stocking that money and just pay it out cash right. And wait for when it does go on sale and you've got the cash in hand and you don't have to put it on credit and go buy that thing if that's what you so choose to. Or maybe you could just keep stockpiling that cash, put it in emergency funds to lower your nervousness if we hit a recession or something bad happens, that you have this money in the bank. And that I think a lot of people don't realize how fast things compound. Throwing a quarter in here, throwing $1 in there, throwing $20 in here. You know, when you jerk tax yourself, and you keep putting that money in there, it starts to accumulate relatively fast. Okay, so my next one is spend some to make some. And this is contradiction to what I just said, is it's all saving money, but I think a lot of people don't understand that sometimes you need to invest in yourself. So remember we were talking about the blender, how it saves time? Remember tying all of this together. Let's take the 3 days away from making an impulse purchase. And let's just go home and think about it. And then let's look at this thing. What is the ROI on this thing? Sometimes, let's jump into exactly what I'm talking about here. I went and purchased a nail gun for my business. I own my own business though, but this can go into anybody's lives. So when I get to my job, I have to carry this very heavy air compressor, and I place it and I plug it in. Then I got to send these air hose all the way from wherever the area where I'm working, plug that in, go and get my nail gun, oil it, load it full of nails, plug it into the hose, and then begin working. And what happens is, let's say it's a small repair job, something that could take me 5 minutes. It takes me longer to set up the gear and haul the gear than it does to actually do the job. So yes, this thing has made me money, but as I'm climbing up ladders and things, my hose is sticking on stuff, hooking on things. A couple times it almost, I almost tripped because I stepped on the hose. I went and spent $400 on a cordless nail gun, and that thing has saved me so much time. When I get to a repair job, I go into my trailer, which is behind me. Besides those of you guys watching, this is my F-350 pickup truck. We're just not driving today because we have drizzle and I have the time to do some podcasts without the background noise. But I go right in the back of my truck, grab that tool, within seconds, nail something up, done. That's called spending money to make money. Spending some to get some. Now, let's look for a bit, and you guys can probably tell by now, looking at that, all of these different tools and things you buy is almost like hiring an employee. But it's like a robot, right? Or a tool that doesn't ever need to get paid. It just keeps paying you. Talk about ROI, right? Saving you time. It's actually making you money. When I look inside people's homes, for me, I have a thermal cookware where you can take, let's say, rice, or let's go more like meats, like a stew or something. I could take and place this thing over my gas fire pit, or on my gas grill that I purchased, and I can heat up, braise all the meat and everything like that, fill it up full of water, boil it for 10 minutes. Once it's on a rolling boil for 10 minutes, I throw all my vegetables and stuff in there, and I close the lid and put it in. It's like a thermos. This thing will cook all day and be hot and be tender as heck without any more energy, because it's a pot that goes inside of a giant thermal cookware. And you can take this thing to the beach with you, to parties, wherever. Anything you started in the morning, like soup or something, will stay hot all day. And you have a hot meal with absolutely no energy. That was an investment of like $280, I think. They're going to be a lot more nowadays. But look at the money that thing has saved me. I don't have to sit there and put something on low and simmer for an hour. It only takes me probably about maybe 15 minutes. And instead of an hour, it cut down on time, energy, expenses, and that's an investment to make money. Well, that thing, instead of hunched over watching something simmer for an hour and make sure it doesn't burn or boil over, I don't have to do that anymore. And that is spending money to make money. What would I be doing? I just saved myself, say, 45 minutes. I'd say longer. At that point, I can go and start tending to my home, or I could go start doing a podcast, working on show notes, or doing some editing or something. That's the thing that frees you up. I spent some money that frees up. If you can spend money on something, that'll free up time for you to go make money. So I very rarely, if ever, have heard anybody talk about this. We have real estate investors and millionaires talking about buying up a bunch of houses and apartment buildings and stuff like that. But for the simple people like us, you can invest in things like the thermal cookware. You can invest in such things as a pressure cooker, air fryer, that you just push a button, bam, you walk away to go do something else. Now, as long as you're going and doing something else instead of just sitting on the couch watching, The Simpsons or, something, cartoons, TV and things like that. So that's when I look at spending some to make some, and actually investing too, going a little further than my show notes here. Those are assets. I'm sure a lot of you can't afford to buy a house or things like that, but you can buy assets like a thermal cooker or these kind, and very many other things that you can utilize that'll save you time, so that you can start working to make that money to go and buy your house if that's what you want, or just to save up for emergency funds. Anything that can free you up, as long as you're doing the work. That, to me, is where, if somebody asks me, I don't have the money to beat inflation and go and invest into assets, big assets. Well, those things are assets to me. You would make a purchase, and those justify you spending, say, $400 or $500 on a piece of machinery that you'll have maybe for the rest of your life or a very long period. But it's going to free you up to make that money. So that's all I got today, guys. If I brought you any value, please like, subscribe, if you give me a thumbs down, tell me why. If you give me a thumbs up and you want to hear something, there's an email on there. Email me what you guys want to hear about. Ask me questions. So, guys, as I always say, go out there and have yourself a near life experience. Don't lose your much.